we just think we had a hard failure on the science computer. You guys better turn around and come back to the control center. So we all jumped on our cell phones, called each other, and we decided almost everybody would go back to the control center and deal with that failure. A couple of us flew to Houston just so we could continue the simulation.
What actually does it do for the Hubble?
It is the thing that sends all the commands to the instruments and takes the science data and formats it and sends it back to the vehicle for transmission to the ground. So all the commands and all the data flow through the SIC and DH.
So in other words, without this device...
Without it, we could have a fully functioning spacecraft orbiting the Earth, but no science data flowing. And Hubble's got 5 science instruments on board. The agency made the instant decision to postpone the mission, give us a fighting chance of pulling the flight spare out of storage and getting it ready for flight. And the team instantly responded. We were pulling hardware out that very day. The folks in the water tank were looking at the procedures for doing this job. They were modifying hardware in real time at the water tank. I think it really demonstrates, you know, the real resiliency of this agency to respond to situations like this.
How long had that been in storage?
Since about 1992. That's when we took delivery of it. The flight spare was taken delivery in 1992. We absolutely didn't want to fly this mission and leave Hubble Space Telescope zero fault tolerant to science. You know, there was just no way the agency could do that. So we took a little bit of time to figure out what we needed to do to reconfigure what we had for flight, you know, get it tested, and then get it back down to Kennedy, and also figure out how to get it on board this flight and get it into the mission. You know, that was no easy task. We knew that with a little extra time, the crew had a fighting chance of getting a little more efficient at doing their EVA task. We actually brought the crew up here once a month from September to now to continue training on the instrument repairs and on SIC and DH. So the team didn't stand down at all. We were plenty busy. We went back into the water tank 4 more times, continued to train, did a lot of testing here at Goddard on the SIC and DH, environmental testing, performance testing, brought the crew in here so they could see the actual flight hardware, take their flight tools, put them on the flight hardware. The crew went back into our hi-fi simulator and continued training on the ACS repair task. And we actually came up with a few creative ways to make that task go a little bit faster.
Take us through your mindset, and you get the word that there's a failure on Hubble. I mean, what is going through your mind at that point as a manager? How are we going to do this daunting task in just 7 months?
On one of our previous flights, we had a reaction wheel fail 3 months before the flight.
Okay.
And we managed to pull that out of storage, get it tested, actually flew it in the crew cabin and, and got that on board. It was actually the last mission. Right, SM-3B, Mike Massimino did that task. We know this team knows how to respond very quickly, and we also know they are extremely creative. As a manager, we knew to just give our team time and let them think and let them work.
But the great thing about this mission is you have Mike Massimino, who is Astro Mike for your Twitter fans out there. So you have Mike Massimino and John Grunsfeld, who's actually serviced this Hubble before.
Twice.
Twice. So you've had some good experience out there, of course, with Scooter and Ray J as a pilot, and then, of course, Megan, Mike, and Drew, who are going to be the new astronauts.
Yeah. Which is, it's really interesting to think that they've gone through this before. I mean, is it a good idea to have Mike? I mean, maybe he's jinxing the whole thing. You know, I mean, don't tell him I said that, because he's tough. He's a tough guy. I mean, that's just a fantastic story, and that's why we wanted to come talk to you today because about this. Because in my mind, it was over. But it just goes to show that your team gets together, and the second you know, everybody just kind of pulls together and gets it done.
Yeah, they responded brilliantly, and they also came up with a way to get it on board our equipment, which was already down at Kennedy. We had taken it out of Atlantis. Fortunately, there was a spot, a physical spot on the Mule carrier, the multi-use logistics equipment carrier, the one that flies in the back. The folks at Kennedy figured out how to mechanically attach it. The folks here were testing it. The astronauts were training. The EVA folks were figuring out how to do the task, and we just walked through it. And at the end of the day, we delivered it early to Kennedy. We got it on board the Mule. The crew went down there and saw the flight hardware and flight configuration. And right now, our flight hardware's ready.
Hey, Mike, that was a fascinating story. Want to go head down to the launch?
You bet.
Let's go do it.
To Kennedy. You're watching NASA Edge.
And inside and outside the look at all things NASA. Well, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Lair, luggage? your luggage?
See you later.
Damn, all this luggage. You should try to squeeze some of this in the payload bay.